Hey friends, and welcome to a new video. Today we are talking about the books that I read in June, and then I think I'm going to talk about the books that I want to read in July and just combine them all, and hopefully this video isn't too long. But I read 6 books in June, and my July goal is 8, so we shall see if I can get there. I'm just gonna go in the order that these books were read throughout the month. First, I finished Girl Abroad. I gave it 2 stars. I didn't love it. There were some parts that I did like, but the thing with me lately is this book was 421 pages. Now, why in the world was this book so long? My issue is romance books being too long, and there's just so many like just added things that don't do anything for the story. Like, I don't know, it's just, this book could have been 100 pages less and I probably would have rated it a lot higher. I probably would have loved it. It is about a girl named Abby, and she goes abroad for school. She's an art history I think, and she is renting out a room from this building that was recommended to her from the school, and she gets there and she ends up rooming with a group of guys when she thought they were women, and she decides to stay, and it's just her going along, and one of the rules was you can't date anybody in the house, so obviously you know how it's gonna go. So it's really like, it was fun to go along with her and her. She was trying to figure out a painting for school, the history on it, and I think that was all cool. It was just like so stretched out. It just felt like, again, it could be 100 pages less. It could be the exact same storyline, just like 100 pages less. I think it would have been a million times better, just being honest. So Girl Abroad by Elle Kennedy, I gave 2 stars. I think the next one that I read was Tempest of Tea. This was the book club with my sisters and my mom and I, and my sister picked this one. I did tab it quite a lot. I don't know if you can even really see it. But I think I rated this 3 stars, by the way, and I had seen so many people just literally die-hard fans of this book, and I don't know if it's me. It probably is me, let's be honest. But the first 50% of this book were the first 50% of this book was insanely confusing. Like, if you asked me what happened in the first 50% of this book, I couldn't tell you a single thing. Not a single thing. But it was the second half, the second 50%, the last 50%, really brought it up, because I don't even know if I was even going to be able to rate it, because I didn't know what in the world was happening. And I'm sure there's a reason. You know, she had to explain everything, because I know that there is one after this. It did end on a cliffhanger. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you. But it is about, now I can't even remember, Arthi and, oh my gosh, I remember the book, but I'm terrible at names. Terrible in person names and in book names. What is his name? Arthi is the girl. Jen. Jen. Arthi and Jen, they've known each other forever, like their whole lives pretty much. They own a tea shop, and like during the night it is open for vampires, and that's all I know from the beginning. A lot of things happen in the second half, so I don't want to like spoil it, but a heist happens. They're trying to really stop the vampires. I'm sorry, I'm so terrible, just because I don't know, I only understood half of this book, so it's really hard for me to talk about it, but I did rate it 3 stars. The second half was really good, and I enjoyed talking to my sisters and my mom about it. I think the next one, the 2, I finished really quick. So I read I Found You by Lisa Jewell. I rated this one 2 stars. I don't think I'm a Lisa Jewell person, because I read Then She Was Gone, and I think I rated that 3 stars, so just barely better than this one. I don't think I'm a Lisa Jewell person because they are so slow. This book was only, oh, it's 342 pages, so maybe again it was just too long, but it is, I just feel like there's nothing happening in these books. I don't know. Then She Was Gone is like raved about, but I feel like there are like thriller with love, a love story also, and I think it's just weird. And I think this one's weird because the main character, again, man, Lily? Is her name Lily? She lives like on this beachfront house and with her 3 kids, I think, and she's like looking at the window one day during a storm and sees this man just standing there, and so she like keeps watching him, like this guy is kind of creepy, right? And so at a moment, like everybody's telling her like, don't do that, like don't walk up to a stranger, hello. And she ends up walking up to this man and starts talking to him like, what are you doing? And he says that he can't remember anything. He doesn't even know what his name is. And she's like, yeah, why don't you come sleep in my room? Not in my room, but I have an extra room. Why don't you, you know, come stay? You don't even know what your name is, but like, why don't you come and sleep in my house with my children? Yeah, because that's smart. And it goes back and forth between, what year is it? 1993. Yeah, 1993 and like present day. And in the end, it kind of like matches up a little bit, and you kind of understand, like you understand it in the end, and I think it was okay. Yeah, okay, it was good in the end, but the leading up to that is just boring, you know? And I did listen to it on audiobook, so I don't know. I don't think that had anything to do with it. It was a good audiobook with her talking, and they had sound effects and stuff and music in the background, and I thought that was really good. I just think that there's nothing going on, and then all of a sudden, here's everything that just happened. Here's the explanation in about 2 seconds, even though you just read 300 pages with nothing. That's kind of how I felt about both of her books, actually. I have one more book of hers. It's The Girls in the Garden, but I already have it, so like maybe one day I'll give it a shot. I did want to read one of the new ones. I don't remember what it's called. I had like a podcast and stuff, maybe, but I don't know if we just aren't it together. Next was another, I don't like it, is Liar's Beach. So this one was pretty short, and yet it took me, I feel like, the whole month to read. It is about a boy named Lyndon, and he goes to like this private school, and you know when you have like a private school with all these rich kids, and you have like that one kid that came on scholarship? That's Lyndon. He is the poor kid out of the group, and he tries to keep it a secret, whatever. He doesn't want anybody to judge him. So the kid that he rooms with at the school invites him to their like beach house for the summer. So he lied and said that he has to work. So he worked for half of the summer, even though he said like he was on vacation with his mom or something. He worked, and then he gets to be on this beach for like a week or two with his friends for the summer, and they have like a beach party. It kind of reminds me of The Summer I Turned Pretty, when they just like hang out on the beach and they're like listening to music with their friends and stuff. That's pretty much the vibe of it. But when everybody was going back and going to bed, there was a fight, and it was between a guy. You later on figure out it was like a fight that happened with their parents, but then they get into an argument and fight, and then it cuts to the morning of one of the boys. So it was the best friend that lives there that invited Lyndon, and another guy. The other guy ends up face down in the pool when they wake up, and ends up in a coma, and they're trying to figure out what happened, which all of that I just said probably sounded incredibly interesting to you, right? Which you would think. But it was just him and this girl that he knew, because her mom employed his mom, and she was like the housekeeper of the house, so they knew each other forever. And they just hang out, and they're trying to figure out who did it. and then they end up getting in an argument. She figures out what happens, and yeah, they just kind of cut off at the end. It did end on a cliffhanger. There is a second one. I don't know if it's out yet or not, but I didn't understand why there weren't police. Why aren't there detectives? Why are these children trying to figure out what happened to their friend? And they figure it out, and then there's still no police. Like, they don't tell anybody. Okay, the next two are favorite books. I really redeemed myself after the first struggle of a month. Next one I read is Sometime in Summer. Oh my gosh, did I love this book so much. It had a lot that I was like not expecting. There's quite a lot that happens that is nowhere to be seen on the back of the book, not even hinting towards it. I loved this book. Now this book was 407 pages, and I loved every moment of it. This was amazing. The other books are far too long. This one was so good. So her name is Anna. Now, I'm really bad at names, but I don't remember her name being Anna. Anyway, Anna, her parents got a divorce like a year ago. It's her 14th birthday, and is it her 14th? It starts off with her 14th birthday, I think. And she was saying that like the year 13 was just such bad luck because her parents divorced and stuff. On her 14th birthday, she finds out that her parents are selling the bookstore that they have had for like her whole life. And she says like everything is changing. Even year 14 is going to be terrible. Me turning 14 was supposed to be better than 13. I was supposed to have better luck because like 13 is a bad number, I guess, an unlucky number. And so she's like, we're gonna take a vacation. This is like where she would vacation as a child, and she said, I'm gonna take you there. We're gonna stay there for a month, and we're gonna just have fun, relax, yada yada. So they go, and she meets these two friends, and so she gets to hang out with these two friends, and she learns a lot, and they teach her a lot, and you know, you learn a lot about the location and the parents and understanding their divorce, and the dad starts dating and her having these friends, and you know, like where things are gonna go with her life, and she almost doesn't want to leave. And I think it is just so wholesome, and I guess it is kind of like a coming of age because she is so young and growing up. It's so sweet, and I would just really recommend it. I think it's so cute, and there's a lot of bookish quotes in here, and she talks about reading, and her friend likes to read, so they talk about it. And she does talk about the mom has this thing where she tries to find everybody like their favorite book of all time as a bookseller, and she's like upset that her mom won't find her a book, and her mom is like, I just don't know yet. I don't know like what your favorite book of all time would be. And so it goes along that because she's questioning like, why am I the only one that my mom can't recommend a book for? I think it's just really cute. And this got me thinking, out of all of the books I've read in my whole life, do I have a favorite book of all time? And I was really feeling down about that and my reading. I've read good books. This is my read that I've read this year, and I could pick favorites. I could pick this one. I rated it 5 stars. I rated Divine Rivals 5 stars. I've rated a few on there 5 stars, but are they a favorite book of all time? That if anybody came to ask me and said, what is your favorite book? I don't have anything, right? And so I was like, I'm going to be in search of my all-time favorite book. Now, that leads into the next book that I read, Dark Matter. I loved every word in this book. Every page, every word, every chapter, every second. I loved it. And I've been having a hard time reading physically, so a few of these books that I read this month were an audio, and I would go back and forth. But this one, turned off the audiobook and read every single word with my own eyes. And I tabbed, and I underlined, and I wrote. Like, look, I did this for the very first time. Can you see it? Where they're just lined up, and I absolutely love it. My mom was like, what the? but I loved it. I loved every second of this book. Then I went out and bought another one of his books. So this is by itself, like it's not a series, which I kind of wish it was, because I could have gone like, this doesn't have an epilogue. That was just my only complaint, because if it had an epilogue of just like one more day, I need that. If anybody knows if he's going to write just one more day after this book, I need to read it. I will pay him to write one more day. But I absolutely loved it. And going from that book, and just like, that was a 5-star book sometime in summer. But wondering, like, I don't have a favorite book of all time. Going into this has to be my favorite book of all time. I love it, and I've been telling everybody about it. My sister is going to read it, and I said you need to read it right this second. And we are actually watching the show. I'm forcing my parents to watch it, and they're totally into it. It's not exactly the same. It's the same vibes, and I really liked the characters, except Daniela. I thought she was going to be blonde, but she has dark hair in the show, which is fine. It's not that big of a deal. But I just pictured her in my head to be blonde. But the man that plays Jason, I had a brain fart. Jason, that fits. And the guy that plays his friend Ryan, that fits too. So I just loved every second. This is my new baby. Depending on how the show ends, I will have to rate the show as well. But there are a few parts where I'm like, that didn't happen in the book, but it's okay because it's not too far off to where it doesn't make sense. But yeah, this is all-time favorite. I found my all-time favorite book in the month of June, and I'm obsessed. I go by like extremely quickly to talk about the books that I hope to read in July. Okay, so for the month of July, my goal is to read 10 books. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books here, and then I'm a mood reader, so it's hard. Leave it open for a few more to reach my goal. The first one is 28 Summers, which I don't have like on me physically right now. I have already started reading it as my book club for the month. And then I have just a reading along with my mom, and we are going to read The Book of Doors. I'm not really going to talk about it because I really go into books blind, so I'm not going to say anything about these books. So the first one is Book of Doors. And then I have actually already started one, The Housemaid's Watching. I'm only on page 28, so it really doesn't count as much. Page 28, I love Frida McFadden. I will read her books until the day that I die. I support her in every word that she writes. Then these two I hope to read for Summerween because they are on my summer TBR and kind of like the thriller-y ones I hope to read during Summerween. So the first one is People to Follow by Olivia Worley, and then The Girl from the Sea by Shalini Boland. So these two hope to read during Summerween. And then I am reading this one with my sister. I am not very far into it. I have it on my Kindle as well. The Naturals. I've been dying to read it, but my sister is also reading it, so we're going to read it together. And then the next one is just because I want to read it, is The Wishing Game. It's kind of short, and I've seen a lot of good things, so I just really want to read this one. My last one is also another read with my mom, is Cinder, which I also got on my Kindle, so I've been reading this one. I'm on page 28, but I have read like another chapter on my Kindle, and I haven't updated my bookmark, so I'm just barely a little bit further, and I love it. I love it. I need a drink really quick. I've been talking far too much. Okay, those are the books that I read in June and books I hope to read in July. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.